All right, I think it is live. Just got to make sure that it is connected. Yes, it is. Good evening, everybody. My name is Prince. I'm a registered migration agent from Queensland at Aussizz Group. So thanks for watching this live session today to all of you. I'll wait for a few more people to join in. And just for a start, I mean, for those of you who doesn't know about Aussizz in Queensland, we are based in Queensland. So, you know, the session we are doing today, we have already run a couple of sessions in the past where, you know, you can ask any questions related to your migration queries or in relation to your student visa, if this is something you're interested in, or any migration pathway you're interested in, or need to know what are the options or, you know, chances for you to get the invitation in the near future, as well as what are the options available to you in order to apply for permanent residency in Australia. As we all know, there are so many different categories for Australian visa system or migration system. You could be eligible in any visa category. So please feel free to ask any question if you have in your mind, regardless it's regarding general skill migration, state nomination, employer-sponsored visa, student visa, or a parent visa, partner visa, or COVID visa, training visa, 494 visa, which is regional sponsored visa. So yeah, I mean, happy to assist and answer all those questions. In case if I'm not able to answer any of those questions being asked during the live session, please allow us some time so we can answer the question as soon as possible. So let's get started, guys. I already see some of you have already joined the session. So if you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask straight away. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, as we all know, yesterday we had a press conference from Minister Claire O'Neill. There has been some major updates, you know, from the government in Australia. It's pretty clear that you know, the migration system is going to change in the near future, and most likely we are expecting major changes coming in. There are mainly two major changes what we have understood as per the conference from yesterday, but we are still waiting more information in detail from the department or the government itself in the upcoming few weeks. So one of the major changes that they announced yesterday for TSMIT. So TSMIT, for those of you who doesn't know, it's a temporary scaled income threshold for migration income threshold. It has been 53,900 since 2013. So it hasn't been increased in last nearly 10 years. So that's for sure. It has been announced that from 1st of July onwards, the TSMIT will be increased from 53,900 to 70,000 plus super. So that's how it was, 53,900 plus super till now, which is still at present, it is the same TSMIT, but from 1st of July, this will come into place, 70,000 plus super. So one of the most common questions, which I may get during this live session as well, that what will happen to those applicants who are currently holding 482 visa or applicants who are currently on 491 visa and hoping to apply for permanent residency in the near future for 191. Do they have to meet the requirement of TSMIT during all these years before they apply for 191 visa in the near future, and they have to meet the TSMIT or not? We haven't got any concrete answer from the government yet, but saying that, that's my you know feeling. I mean, my gut feeling says that most likely for those of you who have been granted 491 visa, you still continue to meet the requirement of 53,900, which was at place when you were granted the visa. However, anybody getting a grant after 1st of July, they may fall into the new requirements, which would be 70K. And down the track, when you apply for 191 visa, you have to maintain that 70K. But saying that, details have not been announced from the government yet. We are still waiting for the clarification from the department that whether these new changes or implement, like, you know, these anticipated new changes coming from 1st of July onwards will affect the current 491 visa holders or 482 visa holders. So that's one of the first major change they announced. And secondly, for the migration system, obviously, it is pretty clear from the government that they are looking forward to open the gates and doors for skilled migrants. So when I say skilled migrants, anybody who's got a specialized skills, would be welcome in Australia, whether you're based in Australia or overseas. If you're watching this video, the chances of you to apply for permanent residency will increase in the near future. However, in a longer term, that's for sure, this year and next year, migration intake from Australian government would be pretty good. But in the longer term, in the next couple of years, obviously the long-term vision for the government is to slow down the migration program. So, but there will be focus mainly on the highly skilled people rather than just, inviting anybody in terms of applying for as per the skilled occupation list. One of the other thing I wanted to mention is the occupation list. Government is going to connect with all the state governments and territory governments in regards to the state occupation list, or the skilled occupation list we call. Most likely we will see some more major changes in the skilled occupation list coming up in July. So be prepared to see some of the occupations. We don't know yet whether STASOL or MLTSSL will be in place from 1st of July 2023 in next couple of months or not. What we see that, they are trying to combine both occupation lists so they can attract many skilled workers from onshore as well as offshore outside Australia as well. So hopefully there may not be any long-term or short-term list, but as of now, as we all know, there are two separate lists. I wouldn't say two, there are three separate lists: MLTSSL list, short-term list, STSOL, and ROL, which is regional occupation list. The three lists available. And it's been announced from the minister yesterday that the Australian, migration system is so complex. So their plan is to make it a bit more simpler and, more productive as well. So Australia can attract highly skilled workers from all around the world. So it's a pretty good news in terms of someone who's, trying to get into the country, or someone is planning to apply for the permanent residency in the near future. And good news for all those temporary visa holders currently in Australia. So one of the major things that was announced yesterday was, I'm not sure, as of now, they haven't given much information, but what has been announced is that they will open up the door for all those temporary visa holders present in Australia. And when I say all those temporary visa holders, I'm talking about the highly specialized skills applicants. So highly specialized skilled applicants. So when I say that, if you have got a background in engineering, construction, or IT, or probably trades, if you've got some skills that you can contribute towards the Australian economy, definitely there would be a good and easier pathway available to you by the end of 2023, December 2023. There would be an easier pathway for all of you to apply for permanent residency in the near future. So if any of you ask me in detail, it's not just me, nobody out there has got all the information. If you're seeking that in detailed information, as we are waiting for more updates from the department. So stay with us on our Facebook page. If there is anything that we get to know from the department, or if we get to know from the Department of Home Affairs or Australian government announcement, we will bring it to you as soon as possible. But I can give you my advice accordingly, what's available, what we have read. With the new migration program, there would be 3 new pathways that has been announced. We don't know yet whether the point system will stay in place or not, but I can, give you a bit of overview what are the 3 new pathways would be. So the first pathway would be specialized and highly skilled workers. So as I mentioned, the government focus would be on attracting highly skilled workers. So the first pathway is specific for those specialized and highly skilled workers. How they're going to design the program, what would be the requirement, we don't know yet. And it goes the same for another 2 pathways, which I'm just going to share it with you. The second one is a mainstream temporary skilled pathway. So mainstream temporary skilled pathway is the second program that they are going to introduce from July 2023 onwards. Details yet to be disclosed yet. We haven't got the information. And the third would be essential industries. So when I say essential industries, this would be mainly for construction, aged care, healthcare sector, social assistance, or maybe engineering and tech industry. So this is what I believe essential industry would cover. The second one, where I'll just go back, mainstream temporary skilled pathway. So for those people who didn't have any pathway yet for the permanent residency, just to give you an example, anybody who applied for a 482 visa, like a temporary skill shortage visa, which falls under as a cook, which falls on the short-term list. So if you applied for a 482 visa as a cook, there wasn't any permanent pathway available for cooks who were holding 482 visa. What I believe that in the near future, in next few months, we will see that anybody holding 482 visa will have a direct PR pathway down the track as well. Doesn't matter whether the occupation list, which we don't know yet, will stay in place or not in next couple of months. As I said earlier in this video, there are major changes we are expecting in July. But I believe that anybody holding a temporary visa, regardless it's on the short-term list or a regional occupation list, there would be a permanent residency pathway available to them in the near future. So in short, in a nutshell, what I would say, this is a great opportunity and time frame for those applicants who's been struggling to apply for permanent residency in Australia. I guess this is the golden period for all of you. If you still hasn't been lucky to get the invitation or haven't had an opportunity to find a pathway for yourself for the permanent residency, just hold on to your get in touch with one of your Aussizz office in probably a month or month and a half, when we have all the information available and we have a good understanding of the new migration pathway coming in place from July 2023. So guys, that was the main updates I wanted to share with you first, because everybody out there was waiting for these updates to understand how this Australian migration program will take shape in the near future. So it's clear for next couple of years, it's quite easy and quite good for all those temporary applicants who are present in Australia. In case if you are not skilled, I would highly recommend to those applicants, if you feel that, okay, you haven't got any skilled qualification or skilled work experience, try to get into that area or expertise where you can gain some knowledge as well as hands-on experience, regardless whichever industry you're in. I'm pretty much sure there would be some pathway available to you for the permanent residency. So I'll be taking questions while I'm talking to you guys. But if you have any specific question, please put that in the comment section. I'll go through it, and if I have the answer straight away, I'll try to answer it on this live session. But if not, there may be a specific question you wanted to know regarding your case. But if it's quite in detail, I may have to jump onto few websites to understand exactly what's the question or what's the requirement for the particular state is or that particular occupation is. All right, so I'll just quickly have a look. Okay, so Akam is asking, what would be the another PR pathway apart from GSM pathway? All right, good question, Akam. A lot of applicants nowadays are quite concerned about the GSM or general skill migration pathway. Not many applicants know about the other PR pathways available in Australia to apply for permanent residency. For those of you who doesn't know about other pathways, I'll share this information regarding employer-sponsored visa. That's one of the good visa category where an applicant can apply for permanent residency depending on the number of years of experience they have. For example, for 482 visa, which is a temporary skill shortage visa, you need a minimum of 2 years full-time experience to apply for 482 visa. Any of these visa categories I'm discussing needs an employer. Like when I said you need an employer to sponsor you under these visa categories. So all these visa categories, 482, 186, 494, are called employer-sponsored visas. So all these visa categories, you need to have an employer to sponsor you, and it gives you a pathway for the permanent residency. As I mentioned, 482 and 186, another visa category where if you have a 3 years of full-time work experience, and if your occupation falls in the long-term list, and for example, as an accountant, if you've been working as an accountant on your 485 visa, or if you've got prior experience overseas as an accountant, and you've been struggling to get invitation under state nomination, or if you have missed out 189 because of the cutoff points requirement was pretty high, you can look into this visa category. If the place you're working, if they're happy to sponsor, you can apply for 186 direct entry, which is a direct permanent residency application. And apart from that, the last one is 494. If your occupation doesn't fall under long-term or short-term list, if it falls under ROL list, which is regional occupation list, you can apply for permanent residency if you have an employer to sponsor you. If your occupation is under that list, you can apply for 494 visa. It does lead to permanent residency after 3 years. So I hope that answers your question, Akam. Next one I've got is from Ahmed. I'm doing automotive certificate 3 and 4. Is a diploma of automotive necessary for PR? Not really, Ahmed. So it all depends. When you say that it's Cert 3 and Cert 4, as long like you need to understand the concept of how the Australian migration works. So the way it works, you come to Australia on a student visa. The first step after student visa is to apply for temporary residency, and then you make your planning towards the permanent residency. So in order for you to apply for temporary residency, you need to understand you must complete minimum 2 years of Australian qualification. So if you have done Cert 3 in automotive and Cert 4 in automotive, collectively, if it is for minimum 2 years, you are eligible to apply for temporary residency visa, which is subclass 485, or after completing your study, you get a visa granted for 2 years, and during those 2 years, you have to complete 1 year job ready program and apply for permanent residency accordingly. But to answer your question, in short, is diploma of automotive necessary? No, it's not mandatory. As long as you have completed 2 years of study, combining Cert 3, Cert 4, you can apply for temporary residency visa. So you don't have to complete your diploma of automotive. But if you wish to proceed with your diploma, definitely it's all your call. So getting back to the other question from Maninder, hi, what are my chances? I have 65 points for 189 and 70 points for 190 as a motor mechanic. And when can we expect the invitation round 189? All right. So answering to your question, Maninder, 189, as we all know, we had a massive invitation round that happened on 8th of December last year. I think the first one happened in August, and then October, we had about 11,000. And then next one in October, we had about 12,000 invitations. But what happened in December, it was nearly, triple what we had. Like we had about more than 35,000 invitation from the federal government. Now, we haven't had any invitation round since December last year. Now, we are anticipating there may be another invitation round, which may happen by mid of May. Again, I cannot be 100% on that. That is my gut feeling, looking at the current scenario where Australia is looking for, labor forces or workforce. They need applicants who are already present in Australia. They want to open up a pathway for them for the permanent residency. So I believe that there is another invitation round for 189 that may happen in next couple of weeks around 15th of May. That's what I feel, but I could be wrong. As I said, it's the department's decision. But if you ask me personally, yes, I would say there is a good chances of 189 invitation round happening by mid of May. Now, with 65 or 70 points, yes, you are eligible to apply for EOI and you get into the queue. Considering we have received 189 invitation with 65 points for motor mechanic in December last year. There is a good probability you may receive the invitation, but saying that, I would highly recommend to increase your points if possible for 189. Depending on the state you are in, I'm not sure if you have looked into the state requirements or not to apply for 190, which is a direct PR application as well. So I believe you would have lost your EOI for 189 and tried and check your eligibility for 190 as well. But yeah, just stay strong and hopefully you get the invitation very soon when the next invitation round happens. Let's move on to the next question, guys. I've got another one is what are the chances 75 points for 190 and 80 points 189? Network engineer currently working on same. All right, Pramod, with 80 points as a computer network engineer, would say for 189, you're a little bit short. When I say a little bit short, probably try to increase a minimum 5 points, because as we all know, this particular occupation or majority of the IT occupation, the cutoff in December invitation round was minimum 85. And we are anticipating it will remain the same. It may not come down to 80 because there are so many applicants in IT profession. So regardless, it's computer network engineer or software developer or developer programmer, tester, majority of the IT occupation, the cutoff has been 85, and there are plenty out there, plenty of applicants out there in the queue with holding 85 and 90 points. So I believe it may not come down. Try to increase your points for 189, at least 5 points if you can work on, and alternatively look for the state-sponsored visa as well, whether you meet the requirement for state-sponsored visa. Considering your 75 points, if you have it on your own, look for the state sponsorship option. Depending on which state you are in, you may meet the eligibility criteria, because most of the states are inviting applicant for 190 with either 75 or 80 points. So you do have those points, so there is a good chance. All right, so Robin Tiba is asking, hi sir, can you please answer my question? I've applied for 189 as a chef in December. Badge, any chances when immigration gonna open the application? All right, Jiba, congratulations to you. First of all, you received the invitation and apply for the visa application, which is good. The current processing time is probably, I would say, somewhere between 4 to 6 months minimum. I'm talking about, depending on the profession. Like if it was nurse, we have seen some grants within 2 months. But considering yours is chef, which is like not highly prioritized at this stage from Department of Home Affairs, so I would say it may take another 2 to 3 months for you to get the application finalized. Just make sure you've done your medical, you provided your police check. It's still up to date. Like, if your PCC or AFP has been expired because of the validity, it's valid for 1 year. If it's expired, I would say just reapply again. Make sure you got updated documents. If your medical is still in place, it's valid for 1 year. If it's expired, try to get the medical. Make sure it's all ready to go. So when the case officer looks at your application, there is nothing he has to ask you for, and he will straight away approve the application. That will not delay the process further. I hope that answers your question. All right, so Abdullah is asking, do I need all bank statement for my work experience for applying Engineers Australia and Home Affairs, or some bank statement will suffice for both? So I believe, Abdullah, you're asking about getting your employment assist from Engineers Australia. So obviously, if you have all the bank statement, it's good, but the most important thing you probably provide, if you have a tax return from your home country, provide the tax return along with your application to get the employment assist, as well as the work reference letter from the employer, which is like most crucial documents in terms of getting the employment assist. Provide pay slips if possible, and you don't have to provide all bank statement. If you have it, it's all good, but it's not mandatory for you to provide each and every single bank statement. But as I said, a work reference letter, a tax return are the most important documents. Providing pay slips and employment contract. I mean, when you any joining letter or a joining contract from when you started your job or employment with the particular employer, the employment letter you were given, submit that as well. At the end of the day, Abdullah, all you need to think in a way that, okay, well, how does Engineers Australia assess the application? They want to make sure that whatever your claims are in your application, do they have enough supporting evidence to prove that you have worked all these years? So you don't even have to provide each and every single payslip. So even if you provide one payslip from each quarter, that will you meet the requirement. But yeah, I mean, answer your question, not the all bank statements are required. All right, so Saad Hassan is asking what kind of changes are expected in the next vision, like point change as per the minister. Saad, I'm not sure if you just joined in, because I've talked about this, if you go back to the live session in the earlier, literally for the start from 5 to 10 minutes, if you look at it, I have discussed about the expected changes in the near future. Point system, I believe, may not stay in place from July because of the announcement what has been made. They are making a massive or major changes in migration program. So it may change. Definitely occupational list is going to change for sure. But in terms of point test, it's not confirmed yet whether it will stay in the place or not. What I can share, what I can tell you guys that definitely the cutoff, everybody know that the minimum cutoff to apply for expression of interest is 65. Most likely it'll be increased in the near future because it's the minimum. It's quite low as per the current government, what they have assessed and analyzed that the cutoff is really short, and applicants with less points are eligible to apply straight away as well. Whereas Australian government focus would be on highly specialized skilled worker, where they can attract these people to come in Australia and help for the Australian economy growth. All right, so I've got a 1 second, Sherry Malik. Can we claim 5 points for regional if we have studied there without living there? Hang on, let me. Sorry, guys, I'm getting too many questions on the screen. So every time somebody asks a question, the other question goes below. Can we claim 5 points for regional if we have studied there without living there? Okay. So Sherry, in order for you to claim the points for regional study, you got to be living there as well as studying there for the entire duration of your course. So if you have done any of these, you cannot claim 5 regional points. So if it was, you could be working in a metropolitan city. Just for example, if you're from Melbourne, for example, if you are studying in Geelong and studying in Geelong and living in Geelong as well. But if you're working in Melbourne, it's still fine. You can claim 5 regional points. But if you are living in Melbourne and studying in Geelong and working in Geelong as well, then you wouldn't be able to. So in short, you got to be studying as well as living in regional area for the entire duration of 2 years of your course, if you're studying masters, or 3 years if it's bachelor's, or whatever the duration of the course is, to claim regional 5 points. I hope that answers your question, Sherry. Abdullah is asking, are these new changes will affect the applicants who already lodged their visas? I doubt it, Abdullah. It will not affect the existing applicants who have already lodged the application. It will be affected to, like, it will implement to all those new applicants who are going to apply when these changes comes into the place. So I just want to share this with all of you who are, connected with us on this live session. Anytime government announce any new change, it doesn't come into effect straight away. For any announcement, for any new changes to come, and there's a lot of work that the Australian government has to work in the background. So once the new policy or once the new changes are announced, they will give some time frame on transition time frame or transition period to those applicants who are already in place. And a legislative instrument needs to be redesigned and should be placed in front of everybody, or in front of legal authorities, to make sure that this will be in effect for the future applicants. So majority of the changes that we are expecting in the near future will not affect the existing applicants or the applications which are already in queue. I hope that helps, Abdullah. Now I've got this from Neha. Yesterday's announcement for income threshold from 53 to 70, does it impact to 491 visa holders? Well, very good question, Neha. I did talk about this in the earlier session, in the earlier time of this video or this live session. I knew this question's going to come, but honestly, you will not get the answer to this question from anybody, because what they have announced as of now, that they will be implementing this Kismet criteria from 1st of July onwards, right? So that's the first thing. So I believe anybody who's getting a visa grant after 1st of July, they may have to meet this requirement. For existing applicants, I don't feel that they have to meet this requirement. It would be pretty unfair for all those 4.9 visa applicants who are currently holding 4.9 visa and it would be pretty hard as well to meet the Kismet requirement of 70K, especially if you're living in regional. So, depending on the state you're in, when I'm based in Queensland, so talking about Queensland, finding a job with 70K in a regional or central Queensland, it's not easy. So government has got all these points, in their mind, like they've got to make sure that they keep the requirement easy in a way where applicants can meet the requirement to apply for permanent residency. So answer to your question, I don't think that it will implement to the existing 4.9 visa holders, but it may affect those applicants who get a 491 visa grant after 1st of July. Hope that helps, Neha. So I've got this from Said. I have motor mechanics successful outcome, but I don't have the final letter from TRA. Successful, but I don't have the letter. I applied for letter. They are saying 1 to 45 days, so I can lodge my EOI on successful outcome. All right. So when you say you have got the successful outcome, obviously, as long as you got the reference number for your outcome from TRA, you can lodge your EOI. That's fine. You don't have to wait for the final letter, but as long as you got the reference letter to put that in the EOI, you can lodge your EOI. It's all good, because you technically completed your skills assessment. But just wanted to understand, how do you know that you have already successfully completed the TRA program or job ready program? I'm not sure if you have been given any verbal statement or in written or anything, because the requirement at the invitation is you must have a valid skills assessment, which I believe you have already appeared for the skills assessment test and it has been cleared. But if you got something in writing, it's all good to go. All right, so moving on further, guys, let me have a look if just a moment. All right, guys, I'm just scrolling the questions. Successfully passed. Okay, Said, yeah, that's all good. If you got an email confirming that you've already cleared the exam, it's all good. That's fine. Shouldn't be a problem. Sorry, guys, just give me a moment. I'm trying to look for the questions because So I've got parents visa for PR pathway in Australia. So Ekam, I mean, in terms of a parent visa, I believe you are a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. If you're a permanent resident Australian citizen, there are different ways how you can bring your parents to Australia on a permanent basis. Some of them are parents visa, aged parent visa, contributory aged parent visa. Like parent visa categories are quite broad. You need to figure out which is the best option available to your parents. But I must give you this information. If any of the other viewers wanted to know, if your parents are above 65, you should be looking into the option for aged parent visa. The minimum cutoff for the age is 65 for each. One of the mom and dad if one of the person is over 65, they can apply as a age parent visa for the age parent visa, and your mom can be dependent on that application as well, even if she is below 65. So and this visa is lodged onshore in Australia. The benefit of that is they will be given a bridging visa A, what it means that they can stay here during the processing of the visa application and they don't have to travel overseas. But there are other options for parent visa as well, like contributory age parent visa, which is a quite expensive process, where the cost for each parent would be 43,600 plus assurance of support that goes to the government as well, $10,000 for each applicant or 15,000 for mom and dad together. But 43,600 for each parent. So for your mom, it would be 43,600. For your dad, it would be 43,600. That needs to be paid to the government at the second stage when 5 or 6 years later. That's the processing time frame for contributory age parent visa that needs to be paid later on down the track when they look at the application. So yeah, I can't go in detail about the parent visa, but there are a few different categories available, depending whether you want to lodge onshore or outside Australia. Benefit of lodging onshore is to get a bridging visa A grant, and they can stay here while the visa application is in process. It's pretty much like any other visa category that you lodge in Australia, you get a bridging visa grant, and the applicant can stay in Australia. So I've got Prakash Gill, any good news for 491? Well, when you say 491, any good news? I didn't understand your question, Prakash. So when you say good news, obviously everybody know that 491 is in place. Applicant with a 491 visa grant, they are logged in for 3 years. They cannot apply for permanent residency. They haven't announced this thing yet, that particularly for 491, but what they have announced is that any applicant living in Australia on a temporary visa and who has got the skilled or specialized skills, they will have a permanent residency pathway by December 2023. That's the only information they announced about the temporary visa holders. So considering 491, it's a provisional permanent residency. I think that will not be considered under this category, because when we talk about temporary visa holders, we are talking about 485 visa holders, 482 visa holders, and 407, which is a training visa, or any other temporary visa that doesn't lead to permanent residency. Easily considering 491 is there's already a pathway for the applicants with 491 leading to permanent residency. I don't think there would be something new coming up for 491 visa holders. So I've got what's the processing time for age parent visa from ACOM? Age parent visa, it's quite long, ACOM. It's nearly 30 years if the application, has been lodged either offshore or onshore. That's ridiculous. Like 30 years, it's quite a long time. And that's why we tell our clients to look for contributory parent visa or contributory age parent visa, where the processing time is about 5 to 6 years. Yes, I understand that it comes with a hefty price tag as well that needs to be paid to the government. But it's worth it. I don't see any point for applying for a parent visa and waiting for 30 years for the visa application to be granted. You need to understand that if they apply for a age parent visa in Australia, they will be granted bridging visa A, but they are meant to get the private health insurance. They need to maintain the private health insurance as well. And considering your parents at that age, they end up paying nearly $300 or $350 a month. So if you look at the entire year, it would be nearly, $3.5 grand for 1 year. Considering 30 years, it's a lot expensive process if you just apply normal parent visa other than contributory parent visa, because you will end up paying a lot to the insurance companies to maintain the health insurance while they're in Australia. I hope that helps, Akam. So Arisha is asking, may I please know when is the next round for 189? I've applied for Queensland with 75 points in business analyst. Is there any other way? Is there any other way I can apply? Arish, sorry, not Arisha. Arish, so if you applied for 189 with 75 points as a business analyst, honestly, the chances are a bit less for 189 invitation, considering the cutoff was 85 points or above. In terms of Queensland State sponsorship, if you applied with 75 points, I'm not sure it's 75 points on your own or you're including state nomination 5 points for 190 as well, because the cutoff for 190 in Queensland is 80 points. So if you applied with 75 points on your own plus 5 points from the state, it means if you've got 80 points, there's a good chance because Queensland state government still got quite a good number of quota left, and just keep your hopes high. Most likely you'll get the invitation in the next couple of weeks. All right, so let me see. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to work it out. How do we look at the other questions in the list? Because I'm just seeing the questions on my screen. The other questions I wouldn't be able to look at. Okay, Karan is asking, I've already applied for 190 visa. Does the new changes affect my file? Not really, Karan. As I mentioned just before, that if anybody who has already applied for the visa application, they will not be affected by the new upcoming changes. Any changes that are proposed or announced mainly affect the new applicants in the near future. So be calm, nothing to stress about. So it should be all good for you. No need to worry about. So I've got this from Neha, project and program administrator, 65 points, Victoria for 190, any hope for 190 invitations, Victoria, when can we expect next invite? Residing in Melbourne, no employment claims. Right, so yeah, they have with 65 points for 190. To be honest, that's a little bit tight because I believe 65 points you're talking about, including state nomination 5 points as well. So it's at the borderline, that's the minimum points criteria. But depending on the number of applications they have in the queue for project administrator or program administrator, there is a slight hope, but try to increase your points. And as we all know that for Victoria, the cutoff is 5th of May. So you mentioned that you've already applied for, your EOI and ROI for state nomination. Victorian state government will continue to assess the EOIs and ROIs even after they're closed after 5th of May. But I would highly recommend to increase your points if you're looking for 190. No employment claims, that's fine. I mean, it's not mandatory for you to have an employment for 190. That's all good, but try to increase your 4 points, at least 5 or 10 points if possible, if you're missing out on PTE, or try to look for NATI, for example, or try if you're short on your experience points, see if you can, consider you're claiming the experience points as well. Because I believe, when you got the skills assessment from project administrator, program administrator, you would have gone to VETASYS to get the skills assessment. So I'm not sure if you have already claimed 5 points for your work experience or not. But yeah, in terms of points, 65 points is the lower bracket. Definitely, it's better if you increase your points. All right, so Farhan is asking, today I got the email for further information for New South Wales 190. They're asking for bank statement, but the problem is I've already submitted the bank statement and they still ask for it. Understand, Farhan, if you already submitted the bank statement, the case officer may have overlooked the application and may not have seen the bank statement. I believe for the bank statement, I'm not sure whether they have specifically mentioned that, they want to see the transaction of the salary being processed to your account, or they just wanted to know that which area of New South Wales you were living in. So if it's regarding the salary, I would say resubmit your bank statement if it's possible for you to highlight the salary that was credited into your account from your employer. So it makes the case officer from the state government easier to assess the bank statement and see whether the salary was credited into your account or not. It's a lot easier for the case officer to see that way rather than going through each transaction to see whether the salary was processed from the employer or not. And if it's regarding the transaction or the which area you were living in, obviously they wanted to see the transaction where you were particularly living around that time frame that you mentioned in your EOI. But yeah, by all means, if you have been asked to submit the bank statement, please do so again. I've got this from Anish MJ, 70 points with no experience as an accountant in Newcastle, New South Wales, studied in Sydney and stayed in regional. Do I need to move to any other state or stay here? Right, Anish. So you didn't mention that what visa you are holding currently, Anish, because when you say that you are willing to move to a different state, first of all, we have to look at the factors that how much time frame you have left on your current visa, and whether before we give you any option to move to a different state, whether you will meet the criteria for that visa or not the visa, like whether you meet the criteria for that particular state or not. With 70 points, accountant, as you know very well, that being an accounting or accounting background, it's not easy with 70 points, but yes, definitely you may have to move the state. But it's not just you. I would suggest this. Anybody else who's looking at this, who's joined us on this live session, I would highly recommend to not move to any state at this point of time, because as we are approaching towards the end of financial year, we all know very well that all the states and territories readjust their migration quota as well as the requirements for the particular state. So if you move to a different state in a hope that it'll be easier in the next financial year, you never know that they may bring something in place that may not suit you. So I would say wait for another couple of months, look at all the other states what their requirements are, and consult a professional person or a registered migration agent to understand what is the best option for you, whether staying in New South Wales would be a good opportunity, will give you a good opportunity or not, or which state you should move, where the chances of getting invitation with 70 points, I believe 70 points on your own, you can look for 491 as well. Like we all know with WA, we've had so many applicants in the past where, applicants with 70 or 75 points moved to WA, they ended up getting 491 invitation without having a job in their profession. But I'm not saying you have to move to W or any other state. Just hold on as of now, maybe for next couple of months, 2.5 months, get to know the new requirements and then make this decision. So I've got this from Nikhil Dugar. I've applied for Queensland 190, 85 points, management consultant, priority 3 to 10 during the priority time frame. I still haven't heard back from MQ regarding it. Will I get an invite or should I wait for 189? Nikhil, if you got 85 points, there is a very good chance you will end up getting an invitation for 190. But saying that, I believe when you did the UI to Queensland State and you have ticked 190 as well as 189 for 189 EO as well. Regardless whether you get 189 invitation or 190 invitation, you'll be applying for the visa application for one visa subclass. It could be 190 or 189. So if I was in your position, you are in a much better position, saying that you have got good points and the occupation you are in, management consultant, it's not a very common occupation. So there is a very high chance you will end up getting an invitation for Queensland 190 before 189 invitation happens, probably by mid of next month. So just wait for about another week or so, because the Queensland state government is processing the UIs quite quickly. So there is a very good hope you will get the invitation soon. All right, so let's move on to the next one from Jeet Patel. I've got an invitation 2.5 months ago, but still didn't receive nomination. Can you please guide me? All right, Jeet, I'm not sure which state you're talking about. First of all, you didn't mention the state. You got the invitation 2.5 months ago. I believe you would have submitted all of your documents. But if you didn't receive the nomination yet, look, I mean, you're asking me to guide you, but how can I say how did you, have you submitted all the documents that was requested or required by the state government? Do you, are you confident that all the documents were up to date when you submitted that information to the state government? There could be a number of factors when delays like this happens. You need to understand. I cannot answer this question straight away that, okay, what you need to do. If it was, depending on the state, which state you are in, I would say, regardless, whichever state you are in, try to send an email to the relevant department, to the state authority, to request an update. And if there is any other document they need to process your application further, just mention that in the email. I'm sure you will get some response, because 2.5 months, it's quite a long time. And again, it depends on the occupation as well, which occupation you've applied for. So if you already sent all the documents as we are getting closer to the end of financial year, all the states and territories are quota is about to finish. So I would say take a step up and reach out to the state government as soon as possible before they announce that they are already closed for this financial year. I hope that answers your questions, Jill. All right, so I've got this one from Pulkit Sani. I've changed my position from graduate engineer trainee to assistant manager to deputy manager. All these are related to my field. Do I need to mention these all designation or just last in EOI? So Pulkit, I need to understand more about your question, because when you say it's not about just updating the designation or the role you are working in, most important factor that gets looked from the case officer from the department or state government is whether the duties and responsibilities you're performing are highly relevant to your nominated occupation or not. That's the first thing. So your role could be deputy manager, assistant manager, but if the duties and responsibilities are pretty much same, you don't have to update the role or the designation because you're performing those duties. So, but in case if the role has been changed or if the duties has been changed as well, I would say you need to mention that in the EOI, because you don't want to be in a situation where department do any further checks down the track when your application is in process and they find out that you have claimed wrong in your EOI, which may lead to trouble in the near future. Hope that helps, Pulkit. All right, so I've got this from Suman Rora. What are the chances of an accountant in Perth, WA, as I recently moved from Queensland to Perth? I'm on my TR and it's expiring in 2025. I have studied in Queensland Regional. I have 85 points. I don't have any job as an accountant, so will I be eligible for 190 or I have option for 491? All right, Suman, I mean, that's good that you completed your studies, but as you already moved to Perth, so the requirement for Perth, I'm not sure if you looked at it or not. For 491, the requirement was, you must have been living in Perth for minimum a month or two to be eligible for 491. But for 190, you need a job offer letter as an accountant for minimum 6 months. Now, the question in your scenario is, I believe you would have already lodged your UI and Perth or WA. We didn't see any 491 invitation in last 3 invitation round, other than the last one, prior to that, other than the last invitation round, prior to the last invitation round, we didn't see any invitations were issued for 491. But if you already lodged your EUI to Perth State, to WA State, there is a possibility of you getting 491 invitation, but that depending on because WA has already got a lot of EUIs in the queue, which they have to process. So if you lodge your EUI now, the chances of you getting invitation in this financial year are pretty less. And with the new financial year coming in place in next couple of months, the requirements, whether they will keep the same requirements what they had this financial year, whether they keep the same requirement for next financial year, nobody knows yet. And this is the reason why I'm sharing this knowledge with all of you, that if you're in a situation where you've been struggling to get invitation for 189, do not make a move straight away now to a different state in a hope that you'll get an invitation in that state, because we are at the end of financial year. All the states and territories are about to run out of their quota. So the new requirements, wait for the new requirements to come in place. Let them announce what the new requirements for the next financial year would be. Then you will be in that situation to make a decision easily for yourself to move to a different state if you want to. So let's move on to the next one, guys. I've got it from Patel Jigar. Can you throw some light on 491 visa to 191? I'm eligible on May month. Should I need to wait for this year tax assessment, or I can apply with income statement? I'm eligible on May month. So you're talking about next month, I believe. Should I need to wait for this year tax assessment? Okay. So yeah, I mean, Jigar, that's a very common question we get asked that, I haven't got the 3rd year financial, notice of assessment from ATO. Should I wait for 3 years or should I apply it straight away? I would say if you're eligible, obviously if you get eligible in May, it's just a matter of another 1 month. I would say lodge your tax return you don't have to wait for the notice of assessment, at least lodge your tax return for June 2023. And even if you haven't received your notice of assessment, you can submit that later, but at least just wait for the tax return to be submitted to the ATO, and you can submit that document as a replacement for Notice of Assessment 2023 tax return instead of Notice of Assessment 2023. Hope that helps, Jigya. So Wangchuk is asking masters in accounting residing in WA, any possibility for 190? So Wangchuk, if you're residing in Perth or WA with 75 points, 190, the requirement is you must have a job offer letter for minimum 6 months. So if the answer is yes, with 75 points, again, it's in the low bracket because there are certain criteria for WA. They look at the criteria, how long you've been living there, whether you completed your studies from there or not, how many points you hold, all of that. So, but what first and most important thing is you have to have a job offer letter for minimum 6 months in WA. If you have that, I would say apply for 190 as well as 491 as well, because in case if you miss out on 190, at least you'll end up getting 491 invitation from WA State. All right, so I've got this one from Dishant Balala. I'm doing Masters of Environmental Management and Sustainability in Flinders Uni, Adelaide. What about PR in this course? Should I have to change my course? I also applied for assessment with my bachelor's degree. So Dishant, there is a good option. That's depending on the number of years of experience you have under your bachelor's. During a bachelor's, if you have got a bachelor's qualification, and I believe the occupation you are applying for would be environmental consultant, or, that's a very unique occupation itself. There is a very good PR prospect in this profession. So all I have to say to you is to look at your points, overall points, how many points you have. As long as you got around 70 plus points, there is a very good opportunity for you to get the invitation under your nominated occupation. So I've got this one from Abdullah again. First, I got negative skill assessment. Later, I got positive and also got invited and lodged a visa that negative. Hang on, I didn't understand the question. Abdullah, let me read it again. First, I got negative skill assessment. So you had a negative skill assessment. Then you applied for a review. You got positive skill assessment. You got the invitation. Will that negative outcome affect my visa? Not really, Abdullah, because we have had so many applicants in the past who got a negative outcome initially, but just because they did the application on their own, they missed out on a couple of necessary documents. They did not submit. We took over the application. We provided all the required documents to the WEDSS or any assessment body. Once your outcome is positive, it doesn't, the previous negative outcome you had doesn't impact your visa application, unless you have provided any false or bogus documents to the assessment body at the initial stage. All right, so I've got this from Adnan. My brother-in-law applied through you, but very poor communication, not picking up call for global talent visa. His PhD is finishing in July 2023. Adnan, I'm really sorry to read this, that you haven't had a very good experience. I'm not sure which office your brother has applied through, but if you would like to leave his name, or if you want to send us an email, or if just, whichever office you applied through, just, send an email to that office. And if you just mention the name of the office, which office you have applied, your brother applied for, from, I'll probably speak to that particular office and get the person to look into the application as soon as possible. So I'm really sorry about your experience or your brother-in-law's experience, but this is not what what we are aiming to do. Our job is to make sure that we keep all our clients satisfied and provide them with the quality service what they expect from us. So that doesn't happen very often, but we always have an area to improve. That is something I'll definitely pass it on to the particular office. All right, so I've got this from Jill. Sorry, sir, I could not hear. Can you again explain me? I got invited as a chef 2.5 months ago, but still haven't received invitation. Still haven't received invitation. So is there anything to worry? Jill, there's nothing to worry about if you haven't received invitation. The whole idea for me to guide you was to reach out to the state government, whichever state you are based in, because we are getting closer to the end of financial year, I don't want you to miss out the invitation. And the reason why I said that, because it's already been 2.5 months, and I believe that there must be something pending on your application. That's the reason why it hasn't been finalized. So take an initiative and reach out to the state government, send them an email, and try to find out whether your application is up to date or not, or is there any other document they need to finalize your application. So that was the whole thing I said before. So this is something you can look into. 2.5 months, it's quite a long time. So I wouldn't recommend you to just sit back and relax and wait for the invitation. Take some initiative and try to reach out to the state government, send them an email. Most of the states, obviously, you can send them an email and request for the update. Mention that you received the invitation 2.5 months ago and you're still waiting for the outcome. If there's any pending document they need, you're happy to provide that. I hope that that'll help you out. All right, so let me just look at the couple of other questions, guys. But yeah, by the way, thanks for asking all these questions, guys. We feel really good when you ask all these questions, and that's the whole idea for us at Aussizz to do these live sessions, so we can come to you with the up-to-date information from the department or the government itself, or you can ask any questions you have in your mind regarding your application, or if you are intending to do study any course in the near future for increasing your PR prospect, or if you want to move interstate. Obviously, it's a very big decision from moving from one state to the other, because you don't want to be in a situation that you regret later that why did you move from that state. And that's the whole reason why we try to connect with you all who have joined us on this live session, to make sure that we come up with the accurate information and we can assist you in the best manner we can. So I have got this last one, which I'll take, man. It's it's already about 1 hour since we started this live session. But as I said before, if we haven't answered any of those questions which came up on my screen, I don't know, for some reason I can't see all the questions, but whatever's coming on my screen, I'm just trying my best to answer those questions. So from Tina Tina, I've got this: waiting for Victoria invitation with 95 points. As an architectural draft person, how come they haven't invited anyone for construction industry? It is pretty strange, Tina, because what we have seen from Victorian state government is mainly they are focusing on health sector as of now. There has been a lot of applicants from trades background they haven't been inviting, which is really surprising for us as well, considering Australia is in big time shortage of trades people. They haven't been inviting applicants for 190. But we are hoping that will definitely change. With 95 points, excellent points you have got in the particular occupation, which is the architectural draft person. There's a very good opportunity for you to receive the invitation. It's just a matter of waiting for a bit, because I believe they are prioritizing health sector and engineering sector at this stage, where they are prioritizing these applications to process quicker as compared to the other nominated occupations. But I'm quite confident with that 95 point score, you will definitely get an invitation before the end of this financial year. All right, so yeah, so I've got this last one again: business analyst, 75 points, 190 Victoria. Any chance? Yes, Apurva, there is a chance, but 75 points, try to increase your points a little bit. There is an opportunity for you to get the invitation with business analyst when the next invitation round happens. But I'm not sure if you're working in a nominated occupation or not. But I would say just work on your PTE. I believe you may be having 65 points in each, 65 points in each module, but try to increase your points. 190, yes, there is a good hope, but I wouldn't say that's the best point score you have for 190 under business analyst, because we know for sure for business analyst, the competition is quite high and the cutoff will not be at the lower level. So when I say lower, it wouldn't be like 70 or 75. So anything over 80 is always good. If you have 85, yes, definitely there's a very high chance, but I would say on an average, 80 points is the benchmark for 190 for majority of the states. So if you got 75 points, including 5 points from the state, try to work on your PT or NATI, just try to increase those additional 5 points, which will definitely help you to receive an invitation from Victoria. So yeah, so Adnan, I've just read Malay is looking after my brother-in-law's case. He's okay, picking up call. Please check with him. Okay. Not a problem, Adnan. That's fine. I'll reach out to him, but I'm not sure, if you've been told. As I'm based in Queensland, that's the reason why I know, because I can give you the information straight away. Malay is currently offshore, and because of his some family issues, personal issues. That's the reason why he's not in. But he'll be back in office in next 1 week or week and a half, roughly. So, but definitely saying that I'll talk to him and I'll reach out to him as well and talk to him regarding the application, what's happening with the process. But thanks for bringing it up to me. I can at least work on it and work out what's the best possible way we can help your brother-in-law. So, all right, guys, I hope this live session was helpful for you. And as I said to all of you in the beginning, that stay tuned with us on our live sessions. Anything new that comes up, we will bring it to you. And if not live session, definitely we always post something that we get to know from the department if there's any new changes that are implemented in the near future from the government. So you get to know, or you get to find out the ways how you can apply for permanent residency. So I hope you all like this session. But as I said before, the few of the questions that I've missed, we will get back online after, we will get back to those questions and answer all those questions as soon as possible. And whichever states you are based in, we are watching this video from. As you all know, that we have got offices in all the other states: Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, Queensland, or Brisbane, or Canberra. So you can reach out to any of your closest Aussizz office if you want to discuss your case in detail, or if you've been struggling to find a right PR pathway for yourself. I wish you all the best. Hopefully all of you get the invitation soon and apply for permanent residency and fulfill your dreams in Australia. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good one.